This is Iceland's Askja volcano, one of the country's most active and dangerous. It's been in a state of unrest since 2021. Scientists don't know exactly when it could erupt, but they now worry the effect of climate change on Iceland's glaciers could hasten and intensify that next volcanic event.
I think it's very likely that we will see future changes, but the question, of course, is when will this start happening, and by how much will it affect volcanic activity?
Michelle Parks, a volcanologist with the Icelandic Meteorological Office, has been keeping tabs on Askja for years, including the Viti crater. Its name is derived from the Icelandic for hell, and it was formed during a massive eruption in 1875. Parks and her colleagues closely monitor the temperature and acidity of Viti's crater lake for any changes.
So at the moment I'm measuring the pH of the water in this small crater lake here. And this is important so that we can determine the acidity of the lake and how it's changing over time. Because this could be indicative of changes in magmatic activity.
A jump in either, meaning that more gases are pushing in from below, would suggest the volcano is moving closer to an eruption. One which scientists worry could be catastrophic. On the scale volcanologists use to measure the size of explosive eruptions, Askja could match that of the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens in Washington state. Although it is much more likely to be a smaller eruption, scientists can't rule out the alternative. But Parks and her team are back at Askja this year with a higher purpose. They are testing a theory in Iceland that could have dire implications for millions of people. Whether rapid glacial melt caused by climate change could trigger more eruptions among the hundreds of volcanoes sitting under ice worldwide.
The time has come for a discussion on whether Britain should commit to reparations for its role in the transatlantic slave trade. That's what leaders of Commonwealth nations said in a joint statement on Saturday as they wrapped up a week-long biannual summit in Samoa, though Britain has long rejected calls for financial compensation for nations affected by slavery.
Noting the calls for a discussion on reparatory justice.
At a news conference, Commonwealth Secretary-General Patricia Scotland read out the statement, noting the issue's importance to the group's 56 members, who are mostly former British colonies.
The time has come for a meaningful, truthful and respectful conversation towards forging a common future based on equity.
Victims of what's called blackbirding were also included in the statement. That's a term for people from places such as the Pacific Islands being deceived, coerced or kidnapped to work on plantations. The statement did not mention what form reparations should take.
So we agreed a plan here in Samoa to boost investment across the Commonwealth.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer told a separate news conference that the summit's reparation discussions have not been about money. With the climate crisis the other concern topping the group's agenda, the Commonwealth leaders also issued their first Oceans Declaration on Saturday. It agrees that a nation's maritime boundaries should remain fixed, even if climate change causes small island states to be submerged. That would allow atoll nations to continue reaping the economic benefit of vast fishing grounds after losing its lands. The declaration bolsters momentum for international law to recognise the perpetual statehood of sinking island states. Many of the Commonwealth nations, including the summit's host Samoa, are low-lying islands at risk from rising sea levels caused by climate change.
Uruguay seems poised for a runoff election next month. That's after a presidential vote on Sunday where neither candidate secured the majority needed for a first-round win. Results showed that center-left candidate Yamandu Orsi of the Broad Front Party secured over 41% with 60% of votes tallied, while conservative Alvaro Delgado had secured around 29%. Speaking to supporters Sunday evening in the capital Montevideo, which has historically backed the center-left, Orsi struck an upbeat tone despite not securing an outright victory.
It is a moment of joy, deep happiness, change and hope. Today the Uruguayan people have won. Today hope is triumphing, and you are here to prove it.
However, the mood was more subdued among some broad front voters that Reuters spoke to, with some saying the result was tighter than they expected. Sunday's distant third-place finisher was the young, social media-savvy conservative Andres Ojeda. He has pledged to support Delgado to block a left victory if he is knocked out in the first round. His near 17% of votes, combined with Delgado's 29%, according to current tallies, could be enough to eventually beat the left in a runoff. As initial results came in on Sunday, Delgado voiced confidence in his chances in a second round.
Here is a team, a coalition that today has started to form a government. That there is a team, a coalition that today started to select a president of the republic. There is a team, a coalition that will not allow our future to be taken away. We won't allow it.
Uruguay's race between two centrist candidates bucks a Latin American trend of sharp right-left divides. The significant overlap between the major conservative and liberal coalitions has taken some of the sting out of the result. Vote counting was also underway Sunday for a binding referendum on pension reform that would lower the retirement age by 5 years to 60, and another that would boost police powers to fight drug-related crime. Exit polls show both were likely rejected.
It was a dramatic few hours for Japanese politics. Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba said it had been a tough ride, as results Monday indicated a drubbing for his ruling coalition. The Liberal Democratic Party and partner Komeito were set to fall well short of a majority, ushering in a period of political uncertainty. Stocks took the outcome in their stride. Japan's benchmark Nikkei index was up around 2% by early afternoon. One analyst said that was partly just relief that an unpredictable election was over. But equity investors also noted a tumble for the country's yen currency. It sank to 3-month lows versus the dollar following the results. Such moves often boost Japanese share markets, as they make stocks there cheaper for foreigners to buy. Strategists at Morgan Stanley said the political uncertainty could also mean there was less chance of what they called challenging economic policies. That included a possible hike in corporate taxes. Now the focus turns to possible coalition talks and which parties might be included. Many of the potential partners favour low interest rates, potentially putting pressure on the Bank of Japan to hold off on further increases. Transport stocks were among the day's big gainers, with Toyota up some 4% by early afternoon. Tech firm Olympus headed sharply lower, however, tumbling around 5%. That followed news that Chief Executive Stefan Kaufmann had stepped down over allegations he bought illegal drugs.
McDonald's said Sunday that beef patties in its quarter-pounder burgers aren't the source of the E. coli outbreak, which has killed 1 and sickened about 75. The fast food chain says it's certain that any contaminated food has been removed from its supply chain and is no longer in restaurants. The Colorado Department of Agriculture said all samples of McDonald's beef patties tested negative for E. coli. They added that beef testing is done and they don't expect more samples. U.S. fast food chains have removed fresh onions from their menu after they were identified as the likely source of the outbreak. E. coli is killed in beef when cooked properly, but the McDonald's Quarter Pounder includes raw sliced onions. Affected restaurants are now serving the burgers without those onions. Since the incident, McDonald's has removed the Quarter Pounder from about 20% of its U.S. restaurants. Previous E. coli outbreaks have hurt sales at big fast food chains as customers stay away from affected outlets. McDonald's said it would soon start serving Quarter Pounders again, and they should be in all restaurants over the coming week.